Welcome to Frame 70 Movie and TV Reviews. I'm Fraser, and today we're taking a look at Project Hail Mary, the 2026 film directed by Phil Lord and Christopher Miller and starring Ryan Gosling, Sandra Hüller, and James Ortiz. This review is completely spoiler-free and focused on one simple question: is it worth your time? Let's find out. I have to admit, I'd been hearing the buzz around Project Hail Mary for well over a year before finally sitting down to watch it. Like a lot of people, my first introduction to Andy Weir's work was The Martian, and I absolutely loved that film. Now, I'll be completely honest, I'm not a huge book reader. Movies and television have always been more my thing, but I've consistently heard that Andy Weir's stories translate incredibly well to the screen, and that's partly because he remains heavily involved in the adaptation process. After watching Project Hail Mary, I can absolutely understand why so many people were excited. This wasn't just good, this was something special. In fact, I'll go one step further. This has already become one of my favourite films of all time. I've watched it 3 times already, and every viewing has somehow been just as enjoyable as the first. One thing worth mentioning before we go any further is Rocky. If you've seen the trailers, you'll already know that an alien character is part of the story. Readers of the novel will know that Rocky's introduction was originally a much bigger reveal that arrived much later in the book. When the trailers dropped, some fans were disappointed because they felt a major surprise had been spoiled. Personally, I didn't feel that at all. Knowing Rocky existed didn't take away from the experience. If anything, it made me even more excited to see how the relationship would play out on screen. And that relationship is the heart and soul of this movie. Ryan Gosling is absolutely brilliant as Ryland Grace. He's funny, awkward, intelligent, charming, and incredibly easy to root for. What I loved most is that Grace genuinely feels like a teacher. You can see how much he enjoys explaining things and helping people understand the world around them. That warmth shines through the entire film and makes the character instantly likable. Sandra Hüller is equally fantastic as Eva Stratt. The scenes between her and Gosling are some of the strongest in the film. They have a really interesting dynamic that constantly keeps the story moving forward, and every flashback sequence adds another layer to both characters. The structure of the movie is also remarkably well handled. The story jumps between Grace's mission in space and events back on Earth, but it never feels confusing or messy. The transitions are smooth, the pacing is excellent, and every flashback arrives exactly when it needs to. Visually, this movie is stunning. If you have the opportunity to watch it on the biggest screen possible, do it. IMAX is absolutely the way to go. The contrast between the vast emptiness of space and the grounded moments back on Earth creates a real sense of scale. There are several sequences that genuinely left me sitting there with a huge smile on my face. The opening alone is fantastic and immediately pulls you into the mystery of what's happening. The supporting cast also deserves a lot of credit. Lionel Boyce is excellent as Carl, bringing warmth and humour whenever he's on screen. Every character feels important and every performance feels believable. Then there's Rocky, and somehow this film managed to make the entire world fall in love with what is essentially a rock. James Ortiz does an incredible job bringing Rocky to life. Through voice work, performance, and visual effects, Rocky becomes one of the most lovable movie characters I've seen in years. The friendship between Grace and Rocky is what elevates Project Hail Mary from a very good science fiction film into something truly memorable. Their relationship starts in an unusual place, as you'd expect, but gradually develops into one of the most genuine friendships I've seen on screen in a long time. There are moments of humour, moments of tension, and several surprisingly emotional scenes that completely caught me off guard. What I particularly loved was Grace's character arc. When we first meet him, he's uncertain, hesitant, and filled with self-doubt. As the story unfolds and more pieces of the puzzle come together, we begin to see him grow into someone capable of far more than he ever believed. By the time the story reaches its final act, you're watching a completely different person. The growth feels earned, the decisions feel earned, and the emotional payoff lands beautifully. As for what didn't work, honestly, there isn't much for me to criticize here. Some viewers may find the scientific explanations a little dense at times, and if you're not a fan of movies that spend time exploring ideas and problem solving, there may be a few moments where the pace slows for you. For me, though, that's part of the appeal. The film trusts its audience, it embraces science without becoming inaccessible, and it balances those concepts with humour and heart. The frame 70 moment for Project Hail Mary comes right at the end. Without giving anything away, there's a classroom scene in the final moments of the film that absolutely got me. It's simple, it's heartfelt, and it perfectly captures what this entire movie is really about. For all the science, spectacle, and space adventure, Project Hail Mary is ultimately a story about friendship, kindness, sacrifice, and finding purpose when you least expect it. Final thoughts. Project Hail Mary is everything I want from great science fiction. It's smart without being arrogant. It's emotional without being manipulative. It's funny without undercutting the drama. And at its core, it tells a deeply human story wrapped inside an enormous space adventure. This is absolutely a film I can see myself revisiting again and again over the years. And if you've somehow managed to avoid it until now, make some time for it. I genuinely think it's one of the best science fiction films of the last decade. The Frame 70 verdict for Project Hail Mary, that was brilliant. Thanks for listening to Frame 70 movie and TV reviews. If you enjoyed today's review, you can follow Frame 70 wherever you get your podcasts and find us at frame70.com. And before we go, let's remember something that sits right at the heart of this show. Movies are subjective. The way a film impacts me might be completely different to the way it impacts you. A movie I connect with might leave someone else completely cold. A film that doesn't work for me might become one of your all-time favorites. And that's okay. That's part of what makes movies worth talking about in the first place. There are no right or wrong opinions here, only different experiences. So watch widely, stay curious, and remember, movies are subjective. Until next time, I'm Fraser, and this has been Frame 70.